Eric, it is fantastic to see you, and I know so many of us are just so eager because the Boise Philharmonic is back in person with performances. How do you feel, and how does your team feel?
Wow, that's a great question. Obviously we had our first two performances just a few weeks ago on October 16th and 17th. The Shape of Water was the name of the concerts. And we featured some tremendous guest artists. We had our audiences with us in both Boise and Nampa. And the Philharmonic was together on stage. And I think it was just an incredible feeling. You anticipate this moment for so long. And you try to encapsulate what it's going to be like. You try to anticipate what it's going to be like. But you can't until you're there. You can't even for those first four rehearsals. So prior to the two performances, we have four rehearsals. And that's an incredible feeling. But then when you have our audiences there, our live audiences there in the halls, there's nothing like it. And every audience is different, but both audiences were incredibly enthusiastic. The Philharmonic was incredibly enthusiastic. So all around, it was just an unforgettable weekend, and I think the perfect way to kick off this most special of seasons.
It's so beautifully put. You know, I almost feel like it's kind of like a rebirth of performance, right? It's like we all took being in person for granted and that energy in the room and the space. And then now we all kind of had to find a different way, but now we're back in person. And it's just like, it's like that first time all over again, right? Just that.
It's true.
Oh,
it's true.
Yeah, it's just that.
Yeah, it's rediscovering something that we can kind of do with muscle memory. We are so good at this mechanism of putting on performances. It's hard work, very, very difficult. Nevertheless, we know how to do it, but now we're looking at it through a completely different lens. And it's just, I think, so much more special and so much more intimate.
Yes,
this way.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so tell us about those performances that you were hinting to, The Shape of Water. What made that so special?
Well, for me, first of all, the repertoire was just incredibly exciting. First of all, we began the performances with this fantastic work by Duke Ellington, a name that we think of as the great band leader, the great pianist, the great artist, American icon of jazz. But in fact, he did write a good amount of orchestral music, especially at the end of his career. And so this is a ballet score that he worked on for Alvin Ailey, the Alvin Ailey Dance Company, to be performed at Lincoln Center in New York. It's called The River. And we performed 3 movements of that suite. And it's great fun. It's beautiful. It's a light jazz waltz. It's straight ahead kind of bluesy sound, sounds that you don't typically hear in the concert hall, along with Scheherazade, a perennial favorite. But it was fun. It was looking at this theme of water and nature, but in a very different way, a jazzy way.
But we got to let everybody know about your upcoming performance in November. Tell us about that so we don't miss out.
Of course, on Saturday, November 6th and Sunday, November 7th, we will be performing 3 classics. The Brahms Academic Festival Overture, which will feature a side-by-side with seniors from our youth orchestra, so always a very exciting, fun thing there. Mozart's very youthful Paris Symphony. He wrote it when he was 22 and looking for work in Paris. I think we can all, understand what that feels like. And Dvorak's Symphony No. 7, which is really his maturing into a symphonic master. It's an absolute masterpiece. So the concert is justifiably called Musical Masterpieces.
Love. I was so excited, and I know our viewers are just excited as well. Where can people go to get those tickets and to learn more?
Absolutely. I always recommend boisephil.org as the quickest solution to find everything you want. Of course, you can always call the ticket office at 208-344-7849.